So it's nice to meet
Hey, you how are you, buddy?
Good.
You ready to rock?
You're a little tall.
Okay. Well, that's on my fault.
I don't know. I like to think it is. To black. Oh, yeah.
You are what you are.
I'm ready to run. Let's do this.
Oh, wait, oh, it's on the R.
I'm not interested.
Hey, oh, welcome back. I had to wrap this up. We have a special seat, baby. I'm eating one of those for us.
The inside Jeanette's favorite
Here's somebody.
celebrity. Someone is Steve Jobs.
Is that new? I like that shirt. Is that the new store? Is it final for myself?
Yeah.
Like,
coloring book, $69.95.
Chicago slang, like no one says.
You are gonna be videotaped at the
Put on those.
little different,
Bentley gear.
yeah, a little bit.
So I'm getting, like, a custom photo.
Actually, the people that I work with, whenever I go away to any one of these trainings.
Yeah.
Did you get my?
All right, you guys ready to rock and roll?
Oh,
Thank you. To see you. All right, here's what we're gonna do. Let's start by putting our phones in our bags. Let's put our phones away. All right. Let's put our laptops away. I don't know if you're gonna need those tonight. Ground ourselves, be where our feet are at. So let's get in the right mindset as far as what we're gonna be doing for the next hour or so, okay? We got an exciting class, gonna play a great game called On the Spot. Anybody ever play this game? No? Good, because I just made it up this morning. So, on the spot, yes. But we're gonna talk a little bit about consultative selling, consultative questioning. We're gonna talk a little bit about emotional intelligence and what that means. We got two exciting guests that are gonna come in. Ask Joe and ask Maryellen when she comes in, any question that you guys want. And Joe, you can be available for our discussion while we're here right now. So before we go forward and talk a little bit about tonight, let's talk about last week. Right? What did you guys learn last week? What were some of the key takeaways that you guys got out of last week's class?
The importance of like being organized and prepared, having like a notebook and writing everything down can go a long way.
All right. Writing things down, right? Preparedness. What else? What else?
Know your product, but also know your competitors. Product.
Know your product, know your competitors. Pretty important from a sales perspective.
Put in the work while you're still early in your career. So make sure that, you're the first one in, last one out, but also educate yourself on your own time.
Okay. First one in, last one out, educate yourself on your own time, pretty important from a sales perspective, right?
Yeah, it's the way to gain credibility or establish credibility with the buyer.
Okay, what else? Put your phone away, why is that important?
You listen to what your customer's saying or whoever you're with, and just like learning knowledge and stuff.
Okay, I don't ask you to do that just because it's the effective selling class. I ask you to get into that habit because it means that there's a connection with you. Right, when you're in front of a customer, where's your phone?
My backpack.
Perfect. And that phone is out. You have your phone? Right, let me see. If you're in front of your customer and you have your phone. Right, you've been on customer visits before, you have a phone sitting here. All of a sudden that phone rings or that phone buzzes. Is your attention solely on that customer in front of you? Nope. You're distracted. Things happen. Right, we talk a lot about how things happen in a nanosecond. Worst thing you can do is lose that interaction, that focus with the customer. Right, yes.
Be honest, be truthful. I remember the speaker from last week said that he came to the meeting, I think a couple minutes late, because he messed up the time, and he just told the customer, that's on me. I messed up the time during the meeting. So
All right.
things you have to will mess up and just own up to your action.
Okay. Be truthful, be honest.
Yeah, take notes and pay close attention to what we're saying.
All right, note taking was pretty important.
When you concentrate on what you're interested in, you miss other things,
Okay,
like the gorilla.
it's a great point.
The difference between listening to respond and listening to understand.
Okay, listening to respond versus listening to understand. Why is that a key distinction in sales? What does that mean? Listening to respond versus listening to understand.
Listening to understand helps you really focus on what the client is looking for specifically for them, instead of just wanting to go to whatever you your goal was.
Okay, but how then, now chapter 11 was about what? Questioning? How then do you tie that into listening to respond or listening for comprehension to understand? How does chapter 11 tie into exactly what you're talking about?
Not doing products, not basing, not like product selling, but like customer selling.
All right, customer
Right.
selling, finding what their pain points are, what their needs are, yeah.
I was gonna say, it ties in because by listening to understand, you figure out what's important to them. And so you can actually like cater to them, whereas if you're listening to respond, you're kind of focusing on like step by step, like what do you want to say? What is like the quickest solution to get to where you want?
Okay, what else? What'd you take away?
Taking that approach, like what you just said, adds kind of more value towards the sales call instead of, like you were saying, if you go in with what you want to do, then you're kind of ignoring exactly what the customer needs.
Okay. Remember Deneen Cronin had a great quote, act as if. What does that mean for sales, to selling? Huh?
Pretending,
Pretending?
like fake it until you make it.
I would say it's a little bit more authentic than pretending or faking. What else? Act as if.
Just like being able to have confidence in going into a pitch.
All right, confidence when you go into a pitch.
Just like acting as if you have the sale already kind of locked down, mainly because if you do, then that's the appropriate way to be acting. And if you don't, then that's gonna show itself like real quick.
All right,
That's something to be addressed.
talk to the class a little bit about confidence. Confidence in sales and why that's important.
Yeah, I think, the first impression is really important because most of the time in a consultative sale, you're not selling on that first conversation. I mean, I don't think I've ever, in 15 years, I've never gotten a sale on that first consultation or conversation. And I think knowing that it's a long-term play and knowing that it's a requirement to have confidence, not only in yourself and in the passion you have for whatever you're selling, but also in the product. And it just establishes a lot quicker rapport with the buyer. And if you can establish that rapport really quickly and you show confidence, because most of the time these people aren't really picking up what you're saying. They're really focusing on how you're making them feel. And if you feel confident in whatever you're communicating with them, they're going to establish a confidence towards you, which is going to give you a better opportunity down the road to sell something to them.
Awesome. Act as if you've been there before. Even if it's your first pitch, act as if you've been in that room before, you've been in that opportunity to sell with that customer before. That's what act as if means. And sometimes it can come across as inauthentic, but it's you as a salesperson that has to make that authentic connection, no matter what. Right? So act as if you've been there before. What else did you guys take away from last week? Yes, sir.
How all humans kind of have like a negative bias, where they always just see like the negatives of every situation or outcome. And as like sellers, we have to kind of get out of that and shift more towards like a positive. Because we just look at the negatives, we're never going to be confident or successful in our mindset.
Right? Nothing's changed in 6,000 years. We still have a caveman mentality, right? To everything that we do, to life. You showed the math example and all of a sudden people didn't look at what was right. They looked at the one math example that was wrong. Right? That's negativity bias. Right? That's not seeing the gorilla, so to speak, when you're on a sales call. That's being focused on the wrong things when you're in front of a customer. Right? Anybody else? Last week. What did you take away?
The details matter. So
Okay.
like you have to, like people are saying take notes, but we use the gorilla as an example. And it was like a debate in the class too. Like, do you focus on just getting the sale, like the fact you counted however many passes it was, or do you focus on the fact that you missed the gorilla and take that as a loss because you didn't get the best sale you could or didn't set up the relationship for the future? And I think we landed on like, you have to see the gorilla and you have to do this, like count the passes at the same time. You can't just pick one or the other.
Right, because that gorilla represents, yes, it's an interesting way to look at it, but it represents what happens on a sales call. And if we overlook what that simple thing could be for a customer, you lost the sale. Don't have an opportunity to sell, or it might take you a lot longer if the sales cycle is a year or 2 years because you overlooked that quote unquote gorilla. What did you take away from last week?
Probably, the importance, sorry, my voice sounds weird. Probably the importance of just open-mindedness and kind of tying into the example about talking about confidence, but also talking about the gorilla in the room. Like if you have a closed mindset and you're just limiting your perception based on like a few negative things or a few kind of preconceived ideas about yourself or other people, like you're closing yourself to a bunch of different opportunities.
Okay, fixed versus growth mindset, right? Huge playoff in what sales is all about. This side of the room, what's a fixed mindset? Take a wild guess. What do you think a fixed mindset is?
It's an opinion that's unchanging and kind of solid, unwavering.
Okay, are you hiring anybody with a fixed mindset? Okay, talk to me about a growth mindset. Why is that important?
An opinion that changes and develops throughout your learning and growth.
Okay, learning, growth, knowledge, consume knowledge, something that Roger McNamara told us all, right? So fixed versus growth mindset, positivity bias versus negativity bias, right? Get the negativity out, get that fixed mindset out, and focus on the growth, focus on the positive bias, right? Awesome. Anybody else have anything to add as far as last week is concerned? Yeah.
Remember, impatience is important, and I thought that was kind of an interesting take, just because someone asked the specific question, like, how do you stay patient? And the answer was, like, impatience can actually, as long as you channel it the right way, be really beneficial for you.
Yep.
In sales.
So on top of that, I thought that was a really interesting point, but also take it personal. You know, Roger McNamara also said, take it personal if you don't make the sale. And so many times we're told, it's okay, you'll get it again, but take it personally. It's okay, you didn't get the sale, that hurts, and it should hurt. You put a lot of time, energy, and effort into it, it should hurt a little bit that you didn't make the sale. Right, so think about that. If you're going into sales, take it a little bit personally. So based upon all that, I was thinking about, all right, how then do we put a little bit of context as far as what we were talking about last week, talking about consultative questioning. But before we do that, we kind of have to go over what this relationship pyramid is and how it's defined. Now, if you look on Blackboard, which we don't often use, this has been up there all semester. It's vitally important for us as a class to understand how we get to that stage of consultative questioning through this. I can't take credit for this here. This credit goes towards Jerry Acuff in his book, The Relationship Selling. But this is a very, very important pyramid to master. Why? First class of this semester, we talked about an interesting sales methodology that our class is adopting. What are the 3 steps associated with selling? Number 1 is the, what is it? Say it louder. Approach. Louder. Approach. Okay, that's number 1. What's our second step?
Dialogue.
Dialogue. Okay, approach, dialogue, and what's the third? What is it? Close. Okay, so we have 3 identifiable steps associated with our sales methodology in this class, correct? Right? Is that what we landed on? Approach. You say dialogue, right? Close. 3 steps. I think there's 2 more that we missed. What was it?
Prepare.
All right, so why don't we change that word? Plan. What's last?
Service.
Different wording. Reflect, close. Follow up. All right, so let's run with these tonight. Right? Plan, approach, dialogue, close, follow up. So if you look at Jerry Acuff's relationship pyramid, people who don't know me by my name, where are we at? Where are we at in the sales process when you come in and people don't know you by your name? Where are we at? Cold. Cold, okay. Where else?
Step 1.
Excuse me?
Here's step 1.
Step 1. So you would say that you're at this stage right here. You're planning.
Well, actually,
Even before this, all right? So right here, people who don't know you by your name. You're before planning. Okay,
Say you're nowhere, since you don't know them, you probably don't know what product they're selling, so you don't even have a plan, you're nowhere.
okay, you're nowhere yet. We all agree on that?
Yep.
We're nowhere yet, all right? So people don't know you by your name. Now, you go in. You're Parker. You're going in, your sales, you go into this account. Gatekeeper's right in front of you. We had an unbelievable gatekeeper right here, right? We love our gatekeeper, right? But I was a little gregarious for this gatekeeper right here in a previous class, but our gatekeeper, what do? We make it a what? A what? A game. And what does that acronym stand for? A game. A gatekeeper always matches your energy, right? Exactly. So now they don't know you by your name. Parker, you go in there. You do your thing, right? You looked at your plan. Now you're an approach, right? Now you're an approach. So that first step in the pyramid starts to get a little bit less and a little bit less. So now Parker's done a great job. Now these people that are in the office, they know him. He walks in and they say, hey, Parker, how you doing? Grab me some coffee. Let's talk a little bit, right? So now that pyramid started, they don't know you. Now they know who you are. Where are you at in the sales process right now?
Dialogue, they know you, you're starting to talk.
Anybody disagree with this? You say yes, dialogue, you're in dialogue phase. Where do you think?
I was gonna kind of say approach, because I don't know necessarily just because you know a few people, it doesn't mean you're already starting to sell them.
All right, where are we at?
I think we're on the far end of like approach,
Okay,
still working through that.
so now they know you. Our expert says we're on the far end of approach, almost leading into this dialogue. Right? This could kind of be defined. I would say this can kind of fall anywhere between here and that area, right? Already made your account. Now they kind of know you. Now you're approaching them. Consultative questioning was chapter 11, right? When does questioning come into the pyramid here?
It's probably the beginning of dialogue.
Okay. Anybody have-
Starting the conversation, but like at the same time, it also feels that questioning is also a part of the plan. Because you ask questions to set up a further plan of advancing.
Okay?
Yep.
What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say in relation to the pyramid, you're starting dialogue when people like you. 'Cause people talk to who they like and they buy from those who they trust.
So right here is what you say?
Say this where dialogue is in,
People who like you, you know, you can kind of,
start talking to them, yeah.
all right? Anybody disagree?
I would say that people who like you can start in the approach phase. I may like a person who has a enthusiastic and charismatic approach. It doesn't mean that I know him, but yes, I would believe that that stage in the pyramid would go towards the end of the approach and starting dialogue, as well as it could go in the middle of dialogue.
Okay, what kind of questions do you think you can get into in this area right here? From a sales perspective?
Personal ones.
Okay, personal ones?
Yeah, I was gonna say like the baseline rapport building, personal questions.
Okay, so baseline rapport building right here. I'm sorry, this is like the Bellustrator. So baseline rapport building, what else?
The chapter talked about like survey style questions that are used at the kind of the beginning process where you're really just finding out the circumstances and kind of who are you, what's going on, what do you do? So survey style, I guess is.
All right, survey style. Where are you identifying the pain points? Can you do that here?
No.
No?
I mean, sure, with some people it takes a little bit longer.
Okay. Anybody disagree?
I would say that the discovery and like finding out pain points is gonna come more when they trust you, which would come more when they're friendly.
All right,
So you can have a general outline of it, of possibilities where the pain points are, but you're not gonna know or confirm later up in the pyramid. You can have speculations about it and like try and plan out possibly, so you're prepared for it, but you're not gonna know until you're higher up.
all right.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think like it depends how strong the pain is as to like where it's gonna start really showing itself, but I think like even in those entry level questions, those survey style questions, if it's something that's like really like a pain or a big need for them, there's gonna be something
All
that
right,
shows itself.
so you're starting to get into these questions, right? You've planned your whole sales call for this customer in particular, right? You've gone from the people who don't know you, which is natural in sales. There's gonna be a ton of times that you go up and people have no idea who you are. They might know the company, the product, or the price that you represent, but they don't know who you are. So you've already gone from this area right here, now they know you, now they go in there, now it's an opportunity for you to kind of say, all right, this is who I am, this is who I represent. Still keeping in mind the personal nature of what we're doing, there has to be a personal connection in order to build a relationship with somebody. Think about it from your personal lives. Right? Is it any different than meeting people at Bentley University? I mean, gaining a friend or getting somebody within your inner circle, is it any different? People don't know you. Oh, now, hey, I know he's a good guy. Yeah, we're gonna go have a beer. I like him. And now you start to get into a little bit more of the dialogue, a little bit more of the questioning as far as where they're at in their pain points, identifying their needs, trying to offer solutions, right? Then you come to this stage. People who are friendly with you. Why is that a distinction between people who like you and people who are friendly with you?
Start to hold longer and more friendlier conversations, and you start to feel more comfortable around them, so you open up more, you're able to gather more information, more insight.
Okay,
I guess it was kind of how you're associated to, like, if they like you, if they see you on the street, they might think of that, but if they're friendly with you, you might come to their mind first.
okay,
I think there's more trust as you become more friendly with someone because you're always gonna just be your authentic self around them.
all right, that word authenticity comes up, yeah,
I felt like liking somebody does not mean engaging in a dialogue. When you become friendly with the person, that's where the conversations are starting.
anybody disagree with this comment? Do you agree with that?
It's a tough one, right? Because like someone could be friendly with you, but it could be a false front in some way as well. So I think this area is kind of tough, of like how much rapport you're building with a person. I don't think it's identified in here with the friendly and the like, because sometimes that might be in my mind, sometimes people just play that card because it's the easiest card, even though that might not be the truth.
I have a question. I just have a question about what you said. How many times is that encountered, or have you encountered in your career where it's like a false friendliness? And when do you know it's a false friendliness?
Yeah, I think over time you kind of get a sense of what's happening in that dynamic the more you do it. But you have to be prepared for it because, there's gonna be people that are gonna sort of play that card where it might not be reality. I think you're gonna know sooner than later by your next interaction or your next meeting, your ability to get back in front of them, whether or not, I kind of go by that. If I can get back in front of them again, I know there was some authenticity to the interaction, whether or not it was friendly. If you're not able to get back in, then that could have been just a front, because sometimes it's just easier to be friendly.
I think people who like me reflects your character, but then the next one for the friendly would be more about like a bond that's established.
Okay. They like you, and now you're starting to bond with them, right? This word here is very important. Right? Friendly. Has an interesting connotation when it comes to sales and selling, yes.
Is it bad I don't necessarily agree with like the people who like me, the people who are friendly with me?
It is very bad that you just, no, of course. Why? Explain.
Maybe it's because we go to business school, but similar to what our guest has mentioned. For people who are friendly, it could just be, a quick smile across the street or something to kind of like make that good impression to keep that relationship lasting. But for people who like me, it's more kind of like, oh, they genuinely do have that impression of you, not kind of just like they didn't really steer me in a wrong way, or they haven't done anything.
So it's a very, very important point. And the quote that we've heard ad nauseum here in this class, Roger McNamara said what? People buy from people that they trust. They'll waste time talking to people that they like. So if you look at the relationship pyramid, think about it from chapter 11 in questioning our customers appropriately. People buy from people they trust. They're going to waste time talking to people that they like. Where do you think you're at as far as sales in this pyramid with these first 4 steps? Do they trust you? Do they see you as a valued advisor? What do you think?
I'd probably say not yet. I mean, like, I feel like once you actually get to the stage of like respecting, that's when like you kind of like show like your value, and then that's when they kind of gain that respect.
All right.
I also agree. I feel like first, if you haven't really given like your like prospect that like you're giving them value, because you haven't given them any value, like why would they trust you?
So you haven't given them value at this stage of the game yet? I mean, you've gone from somebody that you didn't even know, they didn't even know you. They knew you by their name. They like you and they're friendly with you. Sounds to me like you're adding some value, no? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it might be a personal level of value, but if it's not going to benefit them career-wise, then they'll keep talking to you because they like you. But if it's not going to go anywhere, then.
All right, so then how then do you make the jump? How do you make that leap from the 4th rung of this pyramid into that 2nd and 1st rung of this pyramid? Because clearly there's a distinction that we all see, and the line of demarcation is right there.
I feel like something that's missing from there is being genuine. And I feel like that's what would set you apart. That's what would take you to the next level.
Where do you think that's missing though?
I'll be honest with you, I think right below the line, so friendly, because there's a difference between being genuine and people who are friendly with you. Because if you're genuine, some people might not be friendly with you. They might not like what you have to say. Can you get what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. But I think if you're being authentic, your true self will come out here, because if you're being inauthentic, do you think people are going to be friendly with you?
I guess in terms of sales, you're right, but I'm sort of looking at.
I'm the professor. Of course I'm right. Come on now, I've been doing this for a long time, right? But think about it. In order for you to get to this next step, you already have to build up that connection. They have to like you. I said it last week, we're told at a very early age not to talk to who? Strangers. Right, but we get paid a shit ton of money to talk to strangers and build relationships in an authentic way and be genuine with them. Because people can see right through the bullshit. They can.
Plus, it's too much work to not be on. If you think about it, if you're built a certain way and you show up a certain way and you are educated on your product, if you try to be something different in any of those areas, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
In reality. So that's a big piece of advice for me, is like, show up. If you're prepared and you have passion for whatever you're selling and you show up as your true authentic self, that's the only way you're going to be able to establish any credibility with them. If it's something different, it's going to show up somewhere in the process and they won't buy from you. You might get down a stage pretty far because you might have a product that's superior, but once they feel that disconnect with the authenticity, that's, you're done.
I feel like the first step from making that is you got to respect yourself first, because if you don't respect yourself first, then how are you going to get other people to respect you? So it starts from like within, and then I don't know how yet you make the jump, but give more than what you get to.
Let's talk about it. So you got an office here, you got people, you got accounts, they like you, they're friendly with you. How do you get them to respect you? Because the contention here is in order to have key business relationships, in order to move business, people have to value a relationship with you and they have to respect you. You have to be taken out of that like zone and into that trust zone. So what are some things as a sales professional? Think about our chapter that we read. What can you do right here in this moment to get them to respect you and value a business relationship with you?
I think part of it is showing that you're worth their time, right? So if you're able to kind of ask general questions that lead to like pain points and how you can kind of, attack those like as a friend.
All right, so you have to show the customer that you're worth their time. So meaning, let's boil that down to a word.
Value.
Okay, so you're showing them value, right? What else?
I feel like you have to show that you're credible and reliable because like, I guess when I think about it in sports aspects, like you can be friendly with your teammates, but like you don't really respect your teammates until like they show like they're gonna work hard no matter what. And so I feel like in the sales perspective, like showing that you're reliable and that you're not gonna let your customer down.
All right, value, reliable. What else?
You go along with that being consistent, like if you say you're gonna do something, do it.
Is that an E? Consistent? A, E,
Looks good to me.
looks good. Okay, what else?
Being emotionally intelligent and like putting in first even before the sale.
All right, emotional intelligence. Mommy's gonna take you through a little bit of an emotional intelligence briefing, a little bit once he comes back. Yeah,
Just being genuine.
all right, being genuine.
Or respecting you enough is like trusting that you're telling the truth.
All right, so we're building trust. What else?
Integrity.
Integrity in yourself and them, right?
Yeah, don't change your integrity.
I think providing them with like care and making them feel heard by asking questions and actively listening to those questions.
Care for them. Huge distinction, yeah.
Listening, but more understanding, like you might have one product, but knowing that it's not a one size fit all and they might have different problems and your last call or the call you have later and knowing how to like going with emotional intelligence, knowing how to put yourself in their shoes.
All
So you
right.
can see where your solution fits.
Listening, finding out where your solution fits, yeah.
Yeah, I think it ties in with a bunch of those being timely, like respecting their timeline, but also understanding that, you're trying to move things along.
All right. What do you think? How do you build trust? How do you go from friend zone, dating,
I would
to
say,
marriage?
I would say you have to be open in order for someone to be open with you and to kind of like, have a two-way street. You kind of have to like show them it first. You have to take that risk. And then when you take that risk, they feel more comfortable, elaborating on themselves a little bit more.
Okay, what type of questions at this particular stage can you ask a customer? What type of dialogue can you get into at this stage to develop that trust with a customer?
Personal.
Okay, so personal, what else? Hey, how's the family doing? How's the dog? How's the kitty? Are your kids? How's the weekend? Right? You're getting a little bit more towards this stage. How do you get them to trust you? How do you get them to see that you're of value when you go in there? Yeah.
Yeah, asking like the open-ended questions that start to hone in on like the specific need or problem that's been identified through the process so far.
All right, Lucas got that one right there. Two-way dialogue, open-ended questions. What else?
Empathy.
Show empathy. That's a huge one. Huge. All right, what else?
Yeah, I just feel like, just two ways. The first one is whether, you show your, like, some of the values that they can resonate. What if the second thing is just like, you have some characteristic that they admire, that they don't have, and they just want to, learn from you.
What would I put that under? What's a one word for that? Admiration? Maybe?
Yeah, probably.
All right, anybody else?
Honesty.
Honesty. How did we miss that one? All right, I'm not tall enough to go any further than this. I think we get the hint here. What's interesting about all of these words is as you're developing trust, as you're going out of that friend zone, so to speak, with the first 4 rungs of the relationship pyramid, right? As we get into that stage with our customers, we're able to better question them. We're able to identify their needs in a consultative way where they see you as not a sales representative, but somebody that's truly a partner in what they're doing in their offices, in their practice, in their insurance firm, whatever it might be. There's a huge distinction here between these folks right here and these folks right here. These folks right here, and you've probably seen it in the pharmaceutical industry, these are your top 1%ers. Offices, customers that respect you. There's a big difference between people that like you and people that respect you. You guys feel it on a daily basis. You see it in your personal lives. You know when you're respected versus when you're liked, right? What does that feel like?
I feel like in the sales industry, it's time. Like they'll actually, someone who respects you will be willing to give you the time when you come talk to them.
Okay.
And listen.
They open up your door. They open up the doors for you. When you walk in, they greet you. They love to see you because you add value. Because you respect their time. Because you show them gratitude. You're empathetic to their needs. You get into two-way conversations with them. You build a relationship. You look people in the eyes. You connect authentically with them. All of the key lessons that we talked about in the first 9 weeks of this semester come out as far as how we then focus on our questioning. How do we get people to respect us? And how do we get people to value a relationship with us? These are what all of the top 1% sales professionals have inside of them. And again, we talk about being like Neo from the Matrix, but this is something that we take for granted because we've been doing it for so long. Is there anything else that you would add to this list?
It might be in there somewhere, but I'm a big proponent of being sensitive to their existing position. So if they're buying a product that's not yours, it's a similar product, but it's with another company. I've always acknowledged that and just been really transparent about that and get that out in the conversation. And I feel that that just develops another level of like, the relationship gets deeper when you just go in and you acknowledge the fact that they are buying something that you want them not to buy, right? If it's not your product. Most people will go in and they'll try to like position their product as the one that they're buying is inferior. If you acknowledge that whatever they're buying, there's a reason they're buying it. It's either productive or they're friends with the salesperson, whatever it is, whatever the circumstances are. If you get that out in front of them in the conversation, you'll see you'll just see a different energy because most people that are being sold to expect that the seller's going to come in and try to create inferiority for whatever they have. Because you guys all going into this, you all know the products they're buying or whoever they're working with.
Yep. Consultative questioning, consultative selling, it's all about how we move from down here to up here. It's that sweet spot where you can then sell and truly sell, where they see you as somebody that they want to do business with. All right, now we have a definition in this class. Do you guys want to tell Joe, what is our definition in this class for sales? Anybody remember this? Oh, you guys are bad with acronyms. Right? Well, you reading it?
Lead to extraordinary.
Right. Selective actions leading to extraordinary storytelling. Right, so again, keeping chapter 11 in mind, why is this important?
So I think asking questions are you like selecting your actions?
Asking questions is like selecting your actions.
Yeah.
Could be. Could be.
Being selective on your approach based on where you are on that relationship pyramid.
All right. Selective in your approach. What else? Selective actions leading to extraordinary storytelling. Well, it can't be Jeremy. He already
Oh,
took this
okay.
course and he did a great job. I think he got a 94.
Yeah, I mean, like listening and like asking questions like allows you to know what to say next, which is the extraordinary storytelling, I'd say.
Okay. What else? In order to ask effective questions, there's one key word here, right? One key word here. What's the story? How do we frame our brand? How do we frame our product? How do we frame who we are in a storytelling / emotive way in order to ask effective questions? In order to gain insight, in order to get into two-way dialogue, right? It's not showing up and throwing up. It's talking to them about what we are, what we do, how we do it. 6 key impact behaviors drive the top 1%ers. Right? 6 key impact behaviors drive the top 1%ers. Now, what's interesting to note, when you look at this pyramid in particular, they kind of follow what our class has said is our way to sell. Plan, approach, dialogue, close, follow. Customer focused, customer obsessed. Why is that important?
Customers can usually tell when you're just trying to make a sale. So if you show them that you actually care about making their lives better, they're more than likely willing to work with you.
All right. Customer focused, customer obsessed. Why is that important?
I think it might have to do with like similar to the activity that we did with the carousel projector, kind of like showing experience for the customer by learning their needs and wants.
All right, learning the customer's needs and wants, Lucas.
Just trying to get, you know, you're obsessed with the customer because you want to get as much information as you can, whether that's, you know, your own due diligence beforehand or like your initial meetings, that kind of thing. So that way you can like build that plan and then like plan with that approach.
Okay.
How can I make their life easier?
How can you make the customer's life easier? Yep.
It reminds me of like the Kobe Bryant quote, you have to be obsessed with something to really exceed and to win something from it. So-
Obsession is not optional, right? That's what Kobe said. Obsession is not optional, especially in sales when we're dealing with this person right here. Because if you don't have a customer, what do you have? You have a hobby. You don't have business. So everything you do should be gated towards this person in particular. And in order to do this, you have to be so obsessed about what they are, who they are, what drives them. How do you then matriculate into consultative questioning? What questions can you ask? How do you get in depth with your customer? Customer obsessed, huge. And that usually happens here, right? It could happen down the road, but you need to plan how you're going to focus on this customer. We talked about how this reminds us of flying a plane. Can you go into any customer visit without having some sort of predetermined plan? Yes or no?
No.
No, right? You can't. Customer obsessed, customer focused. Number 2, discuss, don't tell. What does that mean?
Two-way conversation instead of one.
Okay, two-way conversation. Dialogue, not monologue. Another way that you can look at discuss, don't tell. What else? What does discuss, don't tell mean to you?
Listen.
Listening. Okay, listening.
Talking with and not at someone.
Talking with, not at, right? Key distinction in sales, yeah.
You want to just like ask questions and like learn more about them instead of just being like, oh, like I have this product, like check this out and sell something.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, has to be about them. Goes towards number 1, customer obsession. You got to know more about them. Roger McNamara said last week, but he said, I wanted to know where that person went to the bathroom. Right? That's customer obsession. Maybe a little too obsessed. That's okay. All right, everybody does it differently, but that was the way that he was able to know, listen, this customer is going to ask me about all the things that have to do with visas. All the things that have to do with all of those numbers that he was talking about last week. But he was so obsessed with the customer that he knew him. Because A, it added value, showed honesty, it showed empathy, it showed all these things. You guys think Roger McNamara is a top 1%er?
Yes.
I mean, $500 billion over his lifetime in revenue? I think that that's pretty good, right? Yeah.
You asked about like, don't ask, discuss, don't tell. And to me, I was thinking about like, if you're just telling the whole time, you don't even know if that person might be a good fit for you. Like they might not be. And so the discussion part is like even more important because you don't want to go through your entire pitch just to have them say, not really my thing. You know?
So real world, right? So we've all been on sales calls. 1 second, Mike. What happens when you're with a rep or you're with somebody and you're pitching to a customer? And it's 90-10, 90% the rep talking and not the customer. What happens?
Just completely checked out.
Right?
The buyer is completely checked out.
Talk about emotional intelligence, self-awareness. Right? All those things, you can see it too. You ever been in a conversation with somebody and you know that they're not into it, they're checked out? Imagine that when you're in front of a customer. And they're looking at you like, all right, wrap it up. We gotta go. Like, what are we doing? Right? Discuss, don't tell. Right? Number 3, probe for growth. What does that mean?
Like if that conversation, if you hear something that you liked or you're interested in, you can kind of like throw a question at it to dig more, or, you know, even just remember it for the next conversation that you may have.
All right, write it down. Probe for growth. What does that mean?
Kind of like digging deeper, seeing if there's like future opportunities, like for only yourself and the person you're talking to.
All right,
Like going off of that, like discovering problems that the customer may not have even known they had.
okay. There's a book out there that talks about the 7 whys. Right? And I think Deneen said this last week. So she asked 61 questions. She a top 1%er? Talk about probe for growth. Why? That's great. Why? Why do you do that? Why is that important? Think about all the layers that you can get to if you do this correctly. Right? That's why these folks are successful. Storytelling / emotive balance. Why is that important? I gotta keep you awake. If you're gonna yawn that loud, I gotta keep you awake in this class. Can somebody get him a cup of coffee?
No, it's been a long day. Being able to like understand like your customer and like on an emotional scale, like it builds trust.
Storytelling / emotive balance.
I'd say like maybe also like keeps them interested as well.
I could see the latter half of that. First one I would disagree with.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Think about your product. Right? Think about EBS, company he works for. There's a story behind it.
I can remind you of what you said at the beginning of the semester where you have to sprinkle magic.
Kind of like last class with the alcohol, how the owner was like a veteran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's storytelling. That's an emotive balance. That's something that drives somebody for emotion.
If you think about like rhetorical analysis, like ethos, pathos, logos, like this is where you bring in pathos after you've already brought in like the logos, like the facts of the case, and then ethos, like you can trust me. Now it's making an emotional appeal and bringing in those 3 factors.
All right. Who started to think about their role plays at the end of the semester? Who started to do some research on their role plays for the end of the semester? It's okay, be honest, all right, a little bit, kind of, okay, don't cram for these, right? We've seen people that cram, never a good thing. What I would say is think about what the emotive balance is and what the story is that you're trying to sell, that you're trying to tell. Okay? Who's behind it? What's the why behind it? We're gonna practice that a little bit tonight. Okay?
I can just add, if I can add, that might be helpful for you guys. The one thing I always think about is try to get them to envision what life would be like after they bought from you. I've always gone in with that approach, like my goal is to get them to a better place than they are today, but if you try to put a story in there that gets them to be able to envision how you're gonna make their life easier based on whatever you're selling, is a good way to sort of reverse engineer whatever story you're trying to sell.
Another thing that I've taught a lot at Alcu, which kind of applies more to discuss and don't tell and pro for growth. A lot of times customers can seem like they may be a good fit for you, but then you want to probe further. They always preach qualified to disqualify. So that's something that you can probe deeper to really see, okay, you looked like it might have been a good fit at first, but actually we don't kind of align, which is honestly, you can grow from that by not wasting your time with them.
Yep, or wasting whose time?
But then they're wasting the customer's time.
Customer's time. People are in the Hall of Fame for batting 300. You're not gonna win them all. And that's part of honesty. That's part of empathy. That's part of alignment, showing, right? All of those things. Visual aid / leave behind. Why is that important? One of the top key impact behaviors is a visual or a leave behind. Why is that important?
Because you're not trying to leave your mark, you're trying to leave like the product and make them think about it after you leave so that they can buy it.
We're humans, right? Feel, felt, and found, right? We always like to look at things. We like to hold things. We like to see them visually. Some people are more visual learners, right? And if you hand them something on the way out or while you're talking to them, it's a lot easier for you to visually show them and refer to it. And people like to see it. They like to be involved in the conversation. As sales professionals, it's great to have a two-way conversation, but do you mind if I show you this? We can walk through this together. Do you mind if I pick your brain about this data or whatever it is? Right? You were involving them. We talk about consultative questioning. That's how you get into these consultative questions. Let me pick your brain for a minute. Explain this to me. Describe if this ever happened to you. Right? Are those open-ended questions? Do those engender dialogue? Does it allow the customer to open up more? Yeah. Better than saying, hey, do you like this product? Right? That's what consultative questioning is all about. How do we involve them in the sales process? What ways can we as sales professionals continually involve our customers in the sales process? Yes.
We were talking about this in another class of mine. When you see like a visual of something, you know, like let's say you see a sign with a donut and you may not even be thinking about that, but the second you see it and you have that visual, the hippocampus part of your brain starts producing the same feelings as if you had that donut in your hands, like right now.
Yeah.
And so by leaving behind a visual aid, would you say that that's kind of in the same
Of course.
same vein when they just say like, geez, it's almost like I already made this purchase and you know what, I feel better. I have it right here.
And I don't know about you, I'm old school. I love leaving things with my accounts. Because it gives me an opportunity to follow up. Hey, did you read what I left you the last time? You mind if I email it over to you? Gives you an opportunity to involve them in the sales process. Even if it's an email, even if it's what we call RTIs, even if it's something that you can refer to, talk about. People love to be involved in the process. That goes towards two-way dialogue. That goes towards how then you get them to open up.
The other thing I'll add to that too is picking up on things that they might need in a conversation that have nothing to do with what you're selling. And being able to follow up on that. For example, you might pick up on something that they're trying to solve for. You might not have an answer for it, but if you have a resource or information to get them to a closer place to solve for that, following up with something like that, and we talk about establishing credibility with the buyer. So always be listening, not for just stuff for what you're selling, but listening for other things that might come up that they're trying to accomplish that might have nothing to do with you.
Lastly, close. Why is that important?
Well, if you can't close, you're not be there for it.
Wait, repeat, you gotta say that.
If you can't close, then what's the point?
Okay, you can't close, then what's the point of being in sales, right? Right? So if we look at our pyramid of success, where does that come in? Would you guys agree? Top two? Yeah? Right? You guys can get here. People that respect you, people that value a relationship with you. Is that the point where you can close them? Follow up? Ask other questions? Think about additional business? Right? Awesome. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play a little game with you guys. This game is called On the Spot. So what I need is from here over, you guys are a team. From here over, you guys are a team. All right, I'm gonna keep you awake. All right, why don't we get up? Let's get out of these seats for a little bit. All right, let's get up for a moment. Move around. Get with your team. If you don't know anybody on your team, make sure you say hello to other people on your team.
I'll leave it at that. That's your fault.
Closer, Mike.
Oh.
All right.
Alright, let's
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. You will have 1 minute. I'm gonna keep you awake too. We'll have 1 minute as a team. You might want to come in here. You might want to huddle up. All right, get a little closer. You have 1 minute as a team. Open the envelope. So look at the brand that's in here. All right. I want to know what the story is. What's the emotional story behind this brand?
Are we allowed to use like the internet to look up the company?
You can use the internet. You can use the interweb in order to look up the brand. Yes. Okay. So as a team, you have a minute to look up this brand. I'm sure some of you or most of you will know what these brands are. I mean, they're not very, very complicated, right? But then you're going to pick one person on the team to come up in front and tell us what's the emotion, if you're selling this brand to somebody, what's the emotive balance? What's the story behind this brand? How do you craft a story around what this brand is? Make sense? Good? All right. Here's your first envelope. One second. Here's your team's first envelope. You may open them. You have 1 minute to look at the brand. And you have a minute.
All right. Oh.
His company. It's his company.
This was not, you saw me totally. What's the emotion? What's the brand? What's the story behind it?
Here we go.
So his ambition, trying to grow their business.
I was saying sustainability.
Fix it, it's on you, because people are.
That's so practical, you guys.
I think Bridget sounds like she wants to talk for us.
I don't know much else to say.
Tired and static.
I was forced to do a role play. I want a role play, so that's enough.
I like money too.
Yeah, you just put that on the stage.
All right. You guys ready? All right, one person on this team, come on up to the front of the room.
Okay.
What?
Want to take this one?
Come on up.
We have to. We have to.
Trust the process.
All right,
We have to create it.
give it a, right up to the front. Do you wanna tell the other group what your brand is? No? Okay, you don't have to. All right. Tell a story. Tell them the story.
Absolutely. Well, have you ever wanted to take a road trip? But at the same time, you just think to yourself, what a burden that's gonna be on the environment that we all know and love. You know, there's so much that we need to love and respect about the environment that we've grown up in and kind of thrown to the side. I think we need to lean into the technology and into the better part of our hearts and think about Mother Nature.
Hey, what's the company?
It's on paper.
What? What's the company? Alright, what'd you guys think of the emotional science? You liked it?
Nailed it.
Yeah. Nailed it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's valid.
Alright, small Parker.
So we're all college students, right?
No.
Let's put ourselves in the space of a business owner, right? Some of you are already there. Where you're bringing in revenue. Your whole job is your brand, okay? Your whole job is selling not only your product, your service, but also yourself, right? And if you can't do that, then you just have a hobby. Now, what we can say is that if you want to work on yourself, there is someone who can help you do that. There is a service that you can use to turn yourself into the sales machine you know you are. Say the brand? I can't say the brand, can I? Now, yeah, probably a little bit. When you are coached, Mr. Young, I'm telling you, not only do you learn how to sell your product, sell your service, you sell yourself. You sell yourself to others, you sell yourself to the world. So let me ask you, ready to start?
Wow. Wow. Mark,
Back to my.
So hire.
I'd hire you for the consultant role. What? Emotion, right? What's the story behind it? Right? Envelope number 2, which one do you want? Envelope number 2.
You're speaking.
Lead it, let's go, open them up.
Yes.
Oh, you say you are.
Oh,
Bro, it's sexy.
1 minute to 1 minute to do an emotional. I wanna hear from you. I wanna hear from you.
Come on, you're up.
Yes, no, I'm limited time and so are you. Come back there today.
Very connected goal.
Natalie. You can do it. There you are.
I'll tell you what I'm saying. You ready?
Dave, oh my God, Dave. There you go, Dave.
Like, what if we just just like just
I don't even know.
Or like that, like some presents to your grandma.
I like Joe's.
Like a.
So that'll be the emotion.
Let's go.
Got any advice?
You guys get some off so far.
That's
Thanks for that.
Get in the pack.
Yeah.
You got it?
That stack of envelopes.
All right, we ready?
Yeah, they go first.
Let's go.
We went first.
Oh, you're stepping up? All right, here we go, listen up. Anytime you want.
All right, so. I want you guys to think of Christmas Day.
Oh.
All right. You wake up, you're all gathered around the Christmas tree. You see a stack of presents that you're waiting to open up, whether it's a train, whether it's a doll, whatever your favorite toy was as a kid, right? And, you know, your family, not everyone can be there, right? So say your grandma wants to get you a PlayStation 5 and, you know, she has to get it to you somehow, right? So our brand has been trusted for a long time and they'll help you connect your family even when they can't be with you. What do you guys think about that?
Remember Skype?
Is this Skype?
Skype cannot deliver presentations. Yeah, who said FedEx?
FedEx?
So, have you ever needed a package delivered? Well, here at our company, whether it's a Christmas package, whether it's for COVID, whether it's your birthday, we're not here to just deliver a PS5. We're here to deliver dreams.
All right, we got a little emotion here. We got PS5 Dreams. What, did you say what company you were?
No.
What company?
Amazon?
Yes.
Amazon's just a powerhouse of it. It's like, we're sketching it.
All right, envelope number 3. You ready?
I'm not going up. Yeah, you're.
Oh, he wants you to feel like.
Natalie is coming up to speed.
Natalie is gonna,
Oh, no.
she wants to think outside her comfort zone. She's gonna be presenting this time.
Something that got passed down through the ages, like the time on how it made more sense.
Your wedding day is such a different part.
I think like the wedding, like.
I didn't. What if you're like 2 hours? I can do that on just something. For like an hour.
Okay.
But if you. Yeah, you. Look at the customs. Look away when you.
You're sent.
And then quality will laugh in the ear.
Not 2 hours.
Not the
personality.
Brand that's
I could go over it. I can't pay
Janelle's been confident. She was the only thing that I was questioning about.
Back to back jokes, come on, back to back jokes.
Oh. All right, you guys ready over here? Come on now. You guys ready over here?
Think about experiencing your first solid bag.
Yeah. No, that's two.
Let's go. Now let's go here. Come on now. You said in your
Let's go down.
mid-year, you wanted to be.
Yeah.
He's calling it a letter.
That's crazy.
Go show him who's boss, Nat.
Make it personal.
All right, here we go. Listen up, listen up, listen up. We got somebody else presenting.
Yeah.
All right, right now. Listen up, listen up, listen up.
This product is a timeless product. It can get passed on from generation to generation. Imagine on your wedding day, your grandma had passed away and she can't be there. And she gave you this nice Chanel perfume years ago. And it can be there with you on your day. This one spray and she's with you.
You love it hanging, you love it.
One spray.
All right, who's presenting? Go.
The spray was good. I'm gonna write that one down.
Hold up.
On a daily basis, people wake up, they go to their works, like a crowd, riding a bus to job, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5. However, well, obviously there is no there is no self-reflection in that. And a spray of perfume only allows you to express yourself on a tiny range. Only people that are around you are impacted. However, there is a way to expand the impact of your personality, of your personal brand. Make yourself inclusive, make yourself yourself. And there is one single luxury brand that is always on everyone's mind, that always on everyone's that is everyone's target. And this is the only thing that the majority desires, but no one has access to. And would you want to have access to something that no one else has? Yeah.
Go against each other, right?
That would actually be awesome, yeah.
I think our guests should probably do one.
Oh, yeah.
We can-
Oh, they should, they should.
What do you think?
Wait, what was your guys'?
One Joseph, you can have 3 Josephs in a group.
Overpriced.
You wanna join a team?
Sure.
All right.
They do so many.
You guys have, which one do you want, right or left?
You want right.
Right.
Give us what's left.
You want right.
You want right.
All right.
Very good.
Nice to meet you.
All right, Joe.
Gonna kick specifically to this.
Oh.
Oh, no. Oh, come on.
You're lucky.
I know.
Listen, you gotta show it to him.
What's the emotional story behind? What's the emotional?
You gotta say, you have to say greatest ever. I hate to say it.
Greatest of all time, 27 I wanted it.
Right.
2012,
So,
like.
Alright.
For the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Like,
Motive self.
so like, you're representing.
you guys know what it is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys know what it is?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to be.
Where we run away. Where they
So.
That's.
Except they get faster.
I nodded.
Not always.
Yeah, if I don't know that.
They probably got like.
Overpriced team, pay way too much.
Well, I mean, it's the best place on earth, so. I actually undressed there.
So I
Went to Hubs.
I don't know. No, we'll have to. I might need to change what I was gonna say. Push pause on the recording.
They should take that one.
Are you guys good?
Go first.
You good? All right. Do you want to come up in front of the room and share with us the emotive story? The emotive balance? The story behind it?
Maryellen.
Yes, we're.
It was 04. It was, yeah.
I can't go against it.
Yeah.
There is no feeling in the world like walking down Main Street, USA. Every little girl, since day one, imagines herself skipping towards this big, beautiful, shiny place, surrounded by her friends that she's seen on every movie and cartoon when she wakes up in the morning and is having her breakfast and her cereal. And she sits with her little sister or her little brother and thinks, when do I get to go here? When do I get to experience what this is, this magic, this place? All my friends, I could fly, I could make a spell, I could build a snowman. Magic?
That was good.
I think that beats the one.
Disney, right?
This
This is fortunate to have to do this. How many in the room are sports fans? How many from when they were little kids got an opportunity to experience getting their glove, going to a game, getting a popcorn,
hot dog, maybe catching a fly ball. Does anyone envision that? How many have been able to envision that in championship experiences? For a team that's won many championships, for an organization that spends millions and millions of dollars on their superstars and is in the championship or on their way to the championship every year. What would that experience be like if you envisioned as a kid being able to go to those games, but as an adult, being able to bring your children to those games, but being a fan of an organization that always has a chance to win a championship? What's the brand?
Yankees.
Yankees. What's the brand?
Red Sox.
Disney. All right. Last one. Last one. All right. And then we'll take some questions and answers and have all that fun time. So. Let's see, who hasn't spoken?
There you go, Joe. Come on.
Okay.
Like the adventure beyond the horizon. Only a woman.
Well, this is a team. I mean, we gotta come together as a team here. Right? We're gonna support this guy.
I'm staying.
Come on, this one shouldn't be difficult.
I see what it is.
Three, what's the emotion?
Powerhouse.
You wanna make other people feel better.
Shuffle it up. I need to know the brand. I need to know what it is.
Has a text message in the group chat.
Yeah.
No, you do not.
Oh, I just thought it
But sounds like a piece of your accessories.
You wanna pay another $1,500 a year to upgrade?
This is the one?
No.
As a higher like, they're gonna slipping out of this time.
So she could just pick one of the other two.
You don't have to do one, so I picked it.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, my
So
Easy, effortless, anybody can do it.
You have to open it and do it on site.
Take a look.
I just. The company.
Oh, you got it.
No.
If you need help, I got you.
You got me?
See relative God, maybe they went
Yeah, you
abroad, maybe they live in a different country. This happened.
Third man in.
Yes. Yes.
I don't play at Bentley. We do have some.
Okay.
Play at Bentley, but I played for them.
Yes.
I got big one. Oh, but
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, this year's expensive. Once I hit like an age that I could understand for me, I was like, don't spend $1,800 on skates for me.
And it's like, what's your health and like your entire life, right? And it's like, oh,
Nice.
they own your. Yeah.
That's like my brother. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, they're scheming over here.
Well, they're going first.
They're going first.
We went first last time.
All right, let's go. Come on down. Hi, Dad. Hi, Dad.
Negotiating.
All right, let's see what the emotive story is here. All right, listen up. Here we go.
So all of us, college students, some of us upcoming graduates, we're in a very stressful, pivotal time in our lives. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of moving on. As a lot of us think about graduating and maybe even relocating for a new job, it can be a stressful time. You know, you feel like you're losing the connections and like the feeling of home that you used to feel as a kid growing up. And when you're moving on to so much new, it's easy to forget about those feelings of nostalgia and feelings of comfort. And so, you know, in the process of all these changes, you want to be looking for something that'll support you, that'll give you that feeling of home. So the feeling that you got as a little kid, you know, living in a certain space with your family and you have all of these memories, you want to give that to your own kids. So as you're thinking about moving on and saying goodbye to one stage of your life, you're thinking about moving into a different stage and kind of bringing back that sense of home and that sense of family and that sense of warmth. So with our company, when you're in that search, looking for that new change, that new location, and thinking about bringing your own family into all of this, we want to help you turn a house into a home.
Wow, great job.
That was.
Save the company, save the company. Here we go. Expecting big things now. That one.
Okay.
Family. Let me repeat that one more time, family. When's the last time you texted your mom? When's the last time you talked to your dad? My grandparents, they're thousands of miles away. Imagine being able to see their kid being born, countries away. Imagine, picture that in your communication without borders. Right there, it's right there in your right pocket.
What company were they talking about?
Wayfair.
No?
Still out?
Huh?
You own it.
Where's the piece of paper?
Yeah, I said Zillow. Yeah, said you're close. Oh.
Coldwell Banker.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said you were hired, by the way.
What company were they talking about?
Yeah. Thank you.
Would have been easier if it said it's not in your right pocket, it's in your bag.
I was gonna say.
Now,
Sorry.
the professor was asked to do one. Did I do it?
Yeah. Who asked?
I haven't seen this.
Who asked?
Okay.
Let me give you
Seen all
something.
of these.
Wait,
I've seen all of these. We should be.
Well, Bridget picked one out for me, but if you wanna,
He hasn't seen it. Seen every.
I haven't seen this.
All the printed copies.
He hasn't seen that.
That's good.
We're being put on the spot. Yeah. You don't need a prep.
Then I will never let you guys do something that I wouldn't do myself, right? So this is part of it. Participation grade, okay, here we go.
He's ready.
Clown's scary. But there's one clown that everybody can identify with. And the reason why is because this clown, when I was growing up, made me happy, made me excited, made me want to go out with my family to grab a quick meal. Not only that, the one thing about this clown that I remember to this day, which still gets me right here, is the fact that there was a nice little jingle that went to this clown. Now, this clown can think about different things to different people. But for me, whenever I thought about it, was happiness, it was food, it was family, and it was fun. I love burgers. I love fries. I love the atmosphere of everything about this establishment because it made my life growing up that much better. What was it? Thank you.
His voice was.
So think about it from a teach back perspective. I think about it from how we then put a bow on this. Okay? Lesson plan tonight, where the lesson was about emotional intelligence, it was about consultative questioning. Right? But we can't get there until we know where we stand in the pyramid. But we also can't get there if we don't know how to emotionally tie in and tell a story about what it is we're selling. That line of demarcation between like and trust and respect goes towards storytelling, goes towards our brand, what it means to us, but what it means to the customer. When you were going through yours, you're a little nervous when you came up here, right? But what were the words that you used from an emotional perspective to tie in your brand?
Timeless generations.
Okay, timeless generations. When you came up here, what were some words that you used to tie in the emotion for the story?
talked about how like people are relying on you, there's like pressure on you to be better and to sell yourself.
Okay? What was the word that you used to tie in emotion? Okay, family. Who else presented over here? What was the word that you used to tie in emotion and storytelling?
I talked about like the relationship to Mother Nature.
Okay? What was the word that you used to tie in emotion and storytelling? Home? What did you use?
Bringing the glove to the game.
Right? Bringing a glove to the game. What kid doesn't remember doing that? What was the word that you used?
Magic.
Magic. Right? Walking on Main Street. Guys, all we gave you was a piece of paper. All I gave you was a piece of paper with a company on it. And like that first night, as somebody said, yeah, you sprinkle magic on each relationship. This piece of paper came to life. Because of words, because of emotion, because of what you guys were able to glean from a story. Okay. That's what storytelling is all about. That's what sales is all about. There has to be an emotional component to that person that you're sitting across from. In order to get them to respect you and value a business relationship with you, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. You have to make these come to life. Your product come to life, your personality come to life. It's the story behind it. All right. Thank you to the presenters. I thought that was pretty good. It was fun, right? That was good. I told Joe, I said, I thought about this morning. Never done this before in a class. I said, I got to put these guys on the spot. So I came up with this morning. I think I'm going to use this for a future class. I think that this was a great way to talk about storytelling, emotion, and drive the point home. Now, 8 o'clock by my count, we have Joe Moran. We also have Maryellen Dischino, gratefully to come into our class to answer questions from you guys. Right? Remember, so much of this class is not about what I can teach, it's what you guys can learn. So you have an opportunity to hear and learn from both of these incredible sales professionals tonight. So I'm going to turn the class over to you two. If you guys want to sit, you can sit. If you want to stand, totally up to you. The class has been given your bios ahead of time. Like all classes that we've done. We're ready to rock and roll and fire some questions at both of you. You guys ready to be on the hot seat? Yes. Ready. You guys ready to fire some questions? Who hasn't asked a lot of questions this semester? You'll leave them out.
Now,
Where's yours?
I had a question for you, Maryellen. I saw in your bio that you have a background in like art and design as well as business. So I was just wondering how you've been able to kind of have something like creativity, which you love, and incorporate that into your profession.
I think if I didn't have the ability to do something creative in my work, I would start bouncing off the ball. Because sort of that like right brain, left brain human being, definitely more right brained focused. So how do I apply that to my sales? Lots of different ways, actually. Sometimes just in conversations with people, when you're trying to, lead them in one direction or another, just like this emotion, you have to get creative with telling stories about people, imagining themselves in this new home or imagining themselves moving from this home into the next stage of their life and what that would look like. So you get creative there. Also, because of my design background, walking into a house that might need some love, I can walk in there and say, okay, so I know enough about structure that I know this wall could come down. We get an engineer to talk about this. If we just, open this up, let some light in, put some new colors on the wall, brighten it up a bit, and you start to sort of have them imagine what it's going to look like, and then put their feelings and their family and whatnot in their space. That's another way I was able to apply creativity. And then sometimes when you're negotiating, you just get it like freaking creative because two people don't want to meet in the middle, and you're going to figure out a way to make it work.
Great question.
Thank you.
So we've talked about like common cliches that can kind of help smooth out a social situation, and know that you've brought up the let me pick your brain kind of line. I was wondering if you guys have any of your own cliches or things that you use in almost every sales conversation that just kind of help move things along and that you found are really kind of fluid and that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I call it a cliche, but one of the things, and I've said this a lot in this class, is I always, in my first interaction with a prospect, I always acknowledge and show sensitivity to their existing circumstances. For me, I work in a consultative sale, but every person that I'm talking to already works with a firm like mine. So someone has to be fired in order for me to be hired. So one of the things I always make it a point really on in the conversation is to acknowledge sensitivity to that relationship. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what they're gonna be buying eventually. If it's with me, I wanna make sure I'm sensitive to their current situation, because I don't know the reasons behind why that firm is there in the first place. So I don't know if it's a cliche, but that's one of the things that's front and center for me every time I'm talking to prospects.
Gotcha.
I have two. One of them I actually wear on my wrist, and it's a bracelet that says everything happens for a reason. And sometimes if you're in a buying, like say you're working with a buyer and in this crazy market and they put 10 offers on 10 different houses and fall in love with 10 different houses and they just keep losing them. To keep them motivated and keep them going, I just say you have to believe. And so much of sales, as you guys are learning about, is emotion, and homes are emotional, as you were talking about, right? So there's some people will say that the real estate business is a financial business. It's all about the bottom line. It's bullshit. It's all about how you feel when you walk in a house, right? So I use all the time in life in general, but with clients, you know, everything happens for a reason. If they lose a house, I have people that literally painted it on their wall when they walked in to their front hallway, because they had been through so many tragic losses, and then they finally got the right house. It really was the right house. So when you walked in, they had a picture of their family, and right above it, everything happens for a reason. So that I use. And then happy deals. In negotiation, you think of it as sort of like two opposing sides, but it's really not. It's in a real estate, actually pretty much in any sales transaction, both sides have the same goal. You want the transmission or the transaction to come to a close and the product to switch hands, whatever it is, right? So everybody has the same common goal in the end. So sometimes some people are really competitive and they really like to win and they'll just dig their heels in. No, I will not, you know, give them $5,000 because the heater died before the, you know, the house sold or something, like whatever it is. You gotta talk to them about happy deals, so that if you feel like you're giving a little bit and they feel like they're giving a little bit, everybody feels like they're getting a little bit. A happier transaction if people on both sides of this are feeling simply happy. It's gonna make the process go a lot smoother, and we're gonna get to the finish line a lot smoother.
My question is coming for you, Joe. I saw that you played hockey, I believe, at UNH. So, and I know that you kind of had to work a little bit harder than everyone else. So how did that resilient mindset and just being an athlete in general carry you into the sales world?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I knew pretty early on that sales was in my DNA. My dad was a sales guy, and I'm getting off track, but I want to share that because for me, I knew what I learned in school wasn't going to be what propelled me in my career. Some people get into, you know, real estate, or there are attorneys, doctors, you know, architects, engineers. For me, it was going to be what I pulled from my sports experience that was going to allow me to be successful in sales. And it's a couple things. It's because I had to work extra hard to get to the Division I level. I always knew that it was going to be a commitment of planning and really being prepared and having a process in place to go out and generate new business. So I think it was a process coupled with the fact that I had to work together with other people to accomplish a certain goal. On the team, obviously, you know, I played a certain role and others played a certain role. So for me, the firm I'm at now, I have to rely on other people to play a role in my relationships. So when I bring in a new piece of business, I got to rely on them to execute that. So it's about being empathetic to the type of people they are, to being, to working with them to accomplish a common goal. So I think those two things were the things that I feel came out of sports that allowed me to be successful in sales.
Thank you.
I'll go. I noticed that you've been speaking here for 2 years about now. And I just want to know, like, how did you and Professor Young meet, and what steps took place that he got you here to speak for us for like 2 years about now?
Yeah, it's two things. One, it's relationships. My brother and Zeb know each other through the town that they live in. And Zeb was looking for professionals that have been out there that have had the experience, and he reached out, and it doesn't take too long when you talk to Zeb to feel the passion and excitement he has around selling. And I think she'll share this. It can be a really lonely world still. So when you find people that have like the energy and passion for something that you do for a living, like I think it took me, when he asked me, it didn't take me less than a second to be like, I'm in. And I didn't even know what it looked like, how much of a commitment it was. And I've always, because sales is so hard, I've always been mindful of, and this is what intrigued me about this class, is that you guys don't realize how much of a head start you're getting. If any of you get into sales, like being able to be in the simulator and listening to Zeb and learning from Zeb and learning from all the people that come in here, I think she'll share this with you. My first few years, that was my experience of falling down and screwing up and, puking on my shoes. And you guys are really doing that all in here before you even get out there. So when Zeb explained to me sort of what the opportunity was to come in and share some of my journey, I was all for it. One, because I think the world of him and I loved his passion, and two, I always like to try to give back in some way, shape, or form. So
Thank you. You could answer this question as well.
Hockey. How does anybody else meet? It's hockey always. My youngest son, Christian, and the son Zayden played on the same hockey team together a couple years ago, and I don't know, we just were forced to hang out together, and there has this, it's hard, as he said, like you have a conversation with Zeb and you love him. Like he's excited, he brings you in and you are just happy. So yeah, so that's how we met. And then, just talk a little bit about what he does. I started, searching for him and following him on social media and all that. And then I was like, you know what? I need you to come in and pump up my sleepy agents that are like, trying to figure out how to work this crazy market. And so he did. And then he asked me to come here. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just gonna ask. So, Joe, you talked about, and this is a question for both of you though, you talked about how that first visit that you have is almost never going to lead to a sale instantly. Like it takes a few times. So in an age of instant gratification and social media and low attention spans, how do you feel like you can navigate that space with a mindset of I needed to delay that gratification? How does that all work with selling? How do you get through it?
I think for me, I'm built to be a people pleaser, and in some ways it's been great for me, in other ways it's been a detriment to me. But I've always had a mindset, and it's never been any different in my personal life, is it's always about them. And when you start there, you have a little bit more patience in the process, versus if you make it about you, your anxiousness comes out a lot quicker. So having that mindset going in allows me to have patience and have the ability to sort of know that this is going to be a long-term game, which allows me to show up in an authentic way and allows me to focus really on what their needs are and building rapport with them. So that's been the reason why it's just been a natural thing for me, to be candid with you.
I set the expectation from the very beginning. And I'll usually lead with some sort of silliness, and try to keep it light, keep it funny, so that everybody's sort of calms down and they don't feel like I'm just there to sell them, right? So just bring everybody to sort of a human level, and talk about sort of this is our, depending on who the client is And I don't sell houses anymore. Now I manage the company, but I still sell because I'm trying to sell myself and my company and trying to bring agents in, and recruiting is a big piece of what I do. So I will often joke that it's the first date. You know, I'm not gonna ask you to marry me on the first date type of a thing. So lay it out there that like, just relax. You know, I know you need something that I know how to do. And I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it well, better than anybody else. But I'm not gonna shove it down your throat, and my goal is to make you feel comfortable, because like you said, it's about them. So I'm gonna ask a lot of questions, and I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna try not to talk too much, and I'm just gonna make sure that they feel very, very comfortable. So that by the end, there is also the trick of, if you do really wanna get that contract, because you know it's a tight competition and you wanna get that signed before you walk out the door. You don't always have to go that way, but there is a way to have them ask the questions, then you slowly answer those questions, and then every time you answer the question, you get a soft yes from them, right? You get, does this make sense? Yes. Okay, so if I was to, you know, mark your house this way, does this make sense? Yes. So they're getting used to saying the word yes, so that at the end, when you're walking out the door, and so you want to sign this contract, it's the kind of thing. But it's all about comfort.
I think too, like, for me, that all resonated with me. When going into a situation, if you know that, so my whole goal in that first meeting is to sell them to want to spend more time with me, right? So if you know that going in and that's your objective, you'll be less forced to try to like press the issue and try to convert them in a quicker manner. But you're on that balance, because there's a lot of people that are in sales that are up against sales goals and numbers and quotas. But you just got to be careful that you don't get swayed into that direction, because that'll cause you to just show up in an unauthentic way.
Thanks, Rose.
I think a major like stereotype in sales, I guess like in life in general, is kind of the hot and cold streaks of whether you're selling products and stuff's just not going your way. So I was kind of wondering how you guys break through that mentality and almost ride the highs and lows, and like what kind of strategies you use if you go through that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all salespeople are competitive, right? So we always judge ourselves on wins and losses. I think for me, you know, it's a great question, but I'm trying to phrase it in a way that that answers it. But I don't know, maybe you can.
So a couple of different directions I could go with it. One is there is going to be highs and lows, and you know, depending on what type of a product you're selling. Real estate, there's seasons, right? But there is a quote that I heard early on, and someone told me, prospect while you're busy or you won't be. So constantly prospect. You all already have something called your SOI. You probably know that, your sphere of influence. In your phones, you probably have thousands of contacts. Those are your sphere, right? So you need to, even if you've got like the biggest deal of your whole life you're ever going to sign, you cannot put all your eggs in one basket. You have to constantly be tapping your sphere. You have to do, and through various points of contact. I'm all about now going back to old school, because everybody is technology cuckoo bananas right now. So like, make the phone calls, pick up the phone and call your people, send them a personal text, send them a note, do email, yes, do social media. They say it takes 15 touches for the human brain to connect two things. So I tell this when I'm teaching my agents how to like get the business and how people come to them, like get your name in their face as much as you can, so that when they think real estate, they think of you, right? So it's being consistent through those highs and lows that avoid you having to ride the highs and lows of the industry, right? So if you are constantly keeping in touch with all your people, being personal, keeping that relationship, that emotional connection strong. And if you're just getting started, just do that with your friends and your family, because at some point somebody's going to need something, probably in whatever you're going to sell. They'll think of you to do that. And then if it is down, it's part of the business. You just gotta be, you can't throw in the towel and have a fit. You just gonna be like, okay, sales are down. I gotta recreate. I gotta get creative, right? How do I get creative? What do I do? Let me shake it up. Let me do something different. Let me get excited. Let me try something new. Let me network. Let me call out some competitor and say, hey, what are you doing? Because this sucks right now. Like, what are you like scratching your head? And just, get that energy going.
Yeah, I'll add to that because that was great. For me too, it's like you can only control so much of the journey. Like, there's gonna be situations where decisions are made that are completely out of your control. So I spend a bunch of time when I'm dealing with the highs and lows on really, like when I'm debriefing in my sales process, I'm really making sure that have I checked off the box of doing everything that I could possibly do to educate them, to control as much as I can in the decision. And if it didn't go my way, I was able to check off those boxes. It allows me, like Zeb said, you don't win them all. So it allows you to get through those times when things don't go your way.
I have a question for you. So being in the real estate industry, we talk a lot about in this class about selling yourself because it's sales, you have to sell yourself. Do you differentiate selling yourself from like potential buyers and sellers, and then now that you switched roles and now we're running a team of agents? Is there a difference of how you sell yourself between those two, between the buyers, sellers, and your agents?
Good question. Probably not. I'm selling a different thing, but my biggest selling point is me. Like for both aspects, like if I'm helping somebody sell a house or buy a house, I'm the tool that they're buying. I'm the one who's going to negotiate and do all that pieces. And if I'm trying to get an agent to come in, I am their manager. I'm going to be their coach. I'm going to help them build and grow their business. So it's me. And so in both of those things, I had to, and I fumbled a lot in the beginning, and I hated the idea of being like, I was an artist. How am I a salesperson? What? How am I going to do this? And I jumped in and figured it out and was like, okay, I have to figure out how to be confident, be proud of what I'm doing, know my shit, but still be authentic and be me. So I think that the most important thing, no matter what you're selling, is be you. You can put your own spin on whatever it is that you're trying to sell to whatever client is you're trying to sell. It's also along with that, not to contradict that, but also be aware of your audience at the same time. Like be watching for clues or listening to things that they say. And if you can connect with them personally on something that is a belief of theirs, like I'm a green geek. So if I hear somebody likes to talk about, sustainable this or electric this or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'm going to hit that and we're going to connect on that. And that's how we're going to build our bond in order to get to the next level of the sales process.
What qualities would you both say that you have that differentiate you from the sales rep of your direct competitor? And how do you continue to try to grow those qualities as a rep?
Yeah, mine are 4 things. It's my core values. It's self-awareness, it's authenticity, it's being vulnerable. Like I think vulnerability is something that gets lost in the shuffle, and it's being empathetic to the buyer. So I feel like if I lead with those 4 things at all stages of the process, my ability to gain traction, gain rapport, build the relationship, and potentially get them as a client will play out a lot. That's how I feel.
Very good question. How do I differentiate myself from my competitor?
Qualities. Yeah.
Quality. So one, I would know your competition, know what their product is, know what they offer. And then know where your weaknesses and your strengths are over it. Find out what the pain points are for your potential client and how to encourage them to see the benefits of yours that hit their pain points. And then with my own piece, I think it goes back to your question. It's I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to be, vulnerable is a great word because you want people to see you as human. You don't want them to see you as a transaction because it's really easy to just throw away a piece of paper if they see you just as a transaction. But if they see you as a human being, then they're not going to just throw that away. They're going to human nature. People want to generally, people want to help people want to work with people they like, so focus on, again, it's all sort of repetitive, you're seeing this, like, the emotional connection, that relationship is like the bottom line. Great, thank you.
You kind of touched on this a little bit, but going back to like the whole prospecting thing, how do you guys personally like prospect and like as your career goes on, how do you continue to find more and more prospects?
My tool has been LinkedIn. And the reason it's been LinkedIn is my buyer is primarily senior level HR professionals in companies, and 98% of HR professionals are on LinkedIn for recruiting purposes and for other reasons. So I've spent a lot of time and energy. At the beginning, it was a lot of cold marketing, but I was leveraging LinkedIn to find the people that I wanted to be in front of. And it's now morphed into continuing to leverage LinkedIn, but in a different way, where I'm going into all of my clients, my centers of influence, my personal network, and I'm identifying prospective buyers from the connections they have on LinkedIn. So I'm finding that information and I'm controlling the referral process by finding the people, asking them if they would refer me, and then making it really easy for them. So 80% of my book of business that I've built in 15 years is through LinkedIn.
So I think you prospect differently depending on what stage of business you're in. If you're brand new to the business, you wake up and you prospect. Everywhere you go in a coffee shop, you're gonna have like a logo of whatever it is that you're selling. You go to a party and you're gonna somehow roll into that conversation. I'm gonna just use real estate because that's the example. I was talking about houses, right? So when I sit down my new agents and I talk about like, okay, how are we gonna build this business? I do a couple of things. One, I find out their why. Give them the questions, 31 questions. I have to fill it out. And then I come back and we go from their why, we figure out what is their thesis statement or what their mission statement is, right? And then, okay, that mission statement we have, what are we gonna do with that? Let me see your phone. And I look through the phone, I scroll all the way to the bottom and see how many people that they know in their phone. And there's usually like, I don't know, 3,472 people. I'm like, holy shit. That's like 10% of these people are talking about houses right now, which is the statistics. So 372 people that could buy or sell a house right now. And they're like, what, really? So if you think about it that way, that you're just taking something that you already have, like people you already know, and you're gonna just work that. Being a visual creative person, I sort of say, okay, we're gonna take everybody you know, we're gonna put all their names right here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep tapping them. And we're just gonna keep telling them all that you know a lot about real estate and you know how to sell houses. And you're gonna tell them by emailing them, calling them, putting it on social media, whatever it is you're gonna do. And every time you tap them, it builds up, like, and it becomes three-dimensional, and that becomes the foundation of your business. The people you know are the foundation of your business. And then from there, one deal turns into another deal because you start to market. Oh, I just sold this house. And then you talk to people all around that house that you just sold. Probably similar, like you just closed this deal with whatever company.
Yeah, exactly.
You talk to all of their competitors or all the people that are around them and you build on that. So then eventually, you guys probably being in Waltham have seen the Hans Brings billboards or the Dave DeGorio billboards. They don't have to prospect cold anymore. They are just constantly. Hans Brings has file cabinets of note cards, like little index cards of every single human being he has ever met with in real estate. He has sold thousands of homes and he has note cards about little personal notes about everybody he's ever met. So he doesn't prospect to strangers. He mails out all that stuff, but every year, right before the holidays, he takes out all of his postcards, all of his note cards, and he calls every single client and says, hey, remember when Susie was gonna, move into that bedroom and you painted it pink and she really wanted it blue or whatever, like little personal note he has. Like, so when you get to that level, when you're already super successful, you're just connecting all the dots of the people that you built that foundation from the beginning.
So numbers game always though. Whether you're new or you're 20 years in,
Yeah.
it's still a numbers game.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, you in the back.
Okay, this question's more for Maryellen, but I saw like in your filings that like I wear many hats, I do a lot of things, like as your role, you have a lot of things that you're kind of responsible for, and then you also said that you sometimes have to, I guess, cheer on your people, and then sometimes have to like be a shoulder to cry on. Like, how do you manage that many different hats and how do you figure out what they need in the moment and not blur the line between like, I'm your boss versus like friend?
That is a really good question, and I will fail at that often. Because I am a people pleaser, as Joe said, and I will just want to cry with them. Sometimes I do. But it's practice. It's knowing what your limits are. Knowing what, the rules are for corporate, right? And then we really are like, it depends on the business. Some businesses you have to meet certain numbers in order to stay afloat, right? Real estate isn't like that, it's your own business. So I have agents in my office that didn't sell a house at all last year. And I'm not firing them, I'm not kicking them out. But what I am doing is I'm calling them up and saying, hey, I noticed you didn't sell any houses last year, everything okay? Can I help you? Can I be your, actually, I just on the way here texted two of them where and now they're accountability partner, where every Wednesday they're coming in for an hour and they're making their calls to build their business. So deciphering which hat to wear at what point, it's probably like wearing 27 of them all at once. It's very hard to, especially if you're which most salespeople I think are emotional people. It's very hard to make that disconnect.
And how do you manage that stress of wearing
Wine.
There's my honest answer. And maybe watching my little ones play hockey. Although sometimes that's not.
That's more stressful.
Yeah.
So in class today, we talked a little about making the customer trust and respect you. I was wondering, how do you guys go about approaching getting a customer to trust and respect you and show that you have value for them?
For me, it's pretty simple. Just authentic, vulnerable, genuine, and I try to relate to them in some way early on that has nothing to do with what I'm there to talk to them about. And then through the journey, I'm a big believer in listening to them and focus on things that might not have anything to do with what I'm selling and trying to be a resource for them in areas that won't put any money in my pocket, but in theory, I feel like that allows to build just an amazing amount of trust and credibility, because most people, when a salesperson's in front of them, they know that their whole objective is to sell them something. So when you're adding value on things you're not selling, it kind of gets them off guard in a good way.
I would agree with that 100%. It kind of goes back to ask a lot of questions, find out where the pain points are. And sometimes you can solve things for them that aren't even part of what you're trying to sell. It's something separate, but you can solve it. But also something else to keep in mind here. You can, in that conversation, that initial conversation where you're trying to win them over, even depending on the client, you can turn it so it's like they're trying to win you over too. And it works. Sometimes when you talk about like that first date, like, I don't want you to feel like I'm just trying to sell you something, like I know you need something from me and I can give it to you, but also like, let's talk about this process, talk about what I'm gonna do for you, and then you're gonna decide if you're gonna wanna work with me, but I'm also gonna decide if I wanna work with you, because, you could be the buyer that's like on Zillow at 3 a.m. and texting me, and I'm going, no, thank you. I don't wanna do that. So there is some ability, and you're not gonna do that on your first call. Your first call, you're like, whatever they need or whatever they want, you're just gonna like give them everything. But as you build up some confidence and you build up some experience and you know more the value of your own time, that's huge in sales. I cannot tell you how often I coach agents to say no, right? To say, no, I cannot do this showing for you on this day. My son has a soccer game. Instead of them scrambling around trying to figure out and then feeling awful and feeling guilty about themselves because they missed their son's soccer game. Your time is valuable, and for you to know that and be able to express that, especially in the first meeting, they're gonna respect and appreciate that and see you as a human being, because their time is valuable and they know that, and they see that your time is valuable and you know that, then you're on even grounds. So did that make sense? I sort of spun that.
Thank you both for being here. Obviously, we've been talking about connecting and making relationships with prospects. I was wondering, how do you deal with a prospect that's shutting down your efforts and they're being just difficult and they're not helping you connect with them in any way?
So there's a couple ways you can do that. If you're not connecting with a certain client, right? In sales, right? So just in general, right? If you're gonna be an engineer, you probably have a certain personality, right? If you're gonna be an actor, you probably have a certain type of personality. If you're gonna be an athlete, you probably have a certain personality, a doctor, whatever. A lot of different careers draw certain personalities, right? So in real estate, I say everybody needs a home. So there's enough people that need to buy homes in real estate. So there's enough different personalities that every different type of salesperson can be successful in the industry, right? Does that make sense? Right? So say I'm not connecting with a certain client. That might just not work. Now I have the option of one saying, you know what? I'm sorry, but this just isn't working. Maybe we should just part ways and move on. Or in most sales industries, I think you can refer business, right? So in real estate per se, I could say, this person's kind of a difficult personality. I know that Joe in my office, he's really good with those type of personalities. I'm gonna cry every night when I go to bed because this guy's such a pain in the ass, but Joe can handle him and put it away and leave it and not worry about it. Hey, you know what? I don't think we're working so well, but this guy Joe in my office, I think you and him would really connect. And I think he'd really be able to answer the questions that you're asking and make you feel comfortable in this process moving forward. Can I connect you with him? And then I call up Joe and say, hey, I got a client for you, real pain in the ass, but I know you can deal with them. Can I get a 25% referral fee? I'm gonna make a little bit of money. He's gonna make more money because he didn't have that deal to begin with, right? So partnering with other people in your business is a good way to deal with handing off the pain in the asses to other people.
I mean, yeah, that's a little bit different than my world. It actually becomes kind of intriguing for me to try to get someone to, convert from being who they are. If I can add value to them and I can get them to a better place, it kind of becomes a sport for me because it isn't about me. Like, however if they're downright like just rude, that's one thing. But if they're just difficult because they're difficult, sometimes some of those people turn out to be your best clients and to be clients forever and refer you business. Sometimes that's a front, and for me, I don't get triggered by having someone get me off track. It's just, for me, it's never really bothered me unless I've never had a situation where someone's been like downright rude. But her situations, her dynamics of selling with the real estate's a little bit different. For me, like I don't have those opportunities to refer, so we might, probably a little bit different just because of the dynamics of our sales process.
So we were talking about time, and I wanted to know how your personal experience and relationship has been with patients. As you were saying before, you cannot ask someone to marry you on the first date. So you need a lot of dates, you need a lot of calls, you need to be constant, you need a lot of time until that person is a stranger, until he's a customer and a real client. So how do you do that? Because you can be for months like having these dates with this person. So how do you deal with these patients? Because you need to close the deal, but it can take a lot of time. So how's that relationship?
I think so in our industry, there's usually a goal, like if it's a house, somebody wants to sell a house, we'll say, there's usually a time frame, and you can align it with, you can set that expectation from the beginning, because you may not be ready to sign on the dotted line right now, but I'm going to tell you about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to take care of you, and what's going to happen to build that relationship and whatnot. But there's a goal at the end there's a time frame that it needs to be done in. So if you keep a check on the calendar per se, to keep them in mind of the time of when the goal is needing to be achieved, that can speed the process along a little bit. And also sometimes it just gets to the point where you just be like, are we gonna move this forward or not? Again, respecting your own time.
Yeah, I think for me the best way to alleviate that is to cast a really wide net.
right, when you're prospecting, right, because deals are gonna take time, so the more deals you have, like in sort of certain stages, the better chance you're gonna have versus like if you keep it in a small sampling, knowing that it's a long sales process. So that's why I always say activity along the way, whether you're a year in or 20 years in, it's still critical, because there's so many dynamics that happen in sales that it's, you always want it on your time, but it never happens on your time. So that's the only thing that's been helpful for me. And when you care and you're passionate about what you're selling, you have no problem casting the wide net. So I've never had a problem reaching out. I've never had a problem asking for referrals because I believe in what's behind me. It's allowed me to always have that buffer for along the way.
Yeah, my question is to both of you and it consists of two parts. So first of all, Joe, you mentioned that a no from a prospective customer often means not now. And so my question is, first of all, how do you effectively figure out when? And
Still trying to figure that out.
yeah, and then how do you, because like when if you figure that out for one customer, for another, it creates a huge database of different customers and those whens. And so how would you effectively keep track of all those customers and find the right moments to reach out to them? Yeah.
I think there's no science behind that, unfortunately. I think the thing that I've always stuck to is controlling what I can control in the activity that I have with the buyer or a prospect. So if I stick true to that and follow all those stages, like whether it happens tomorrow or 5 years from now is out of my control at that point.
Yeah.
So for me, I've never been able to figure out, okay, what is it gonna take for everyone to make the decision when I wanna make it? Because there's so many variables in my the selling and what I do. So for me, it's always just been about controlling what you can control, keeping your activity up, and providing them the information and the data they need to make the decision, and not being afraid to ask along the way. I think a lot of salespeople lose sight of like building a relationship, but forgetting every once in a while to see if there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Objection handling is a big piece of sales.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite presentations to do in the office. And what you need to understand is that if someone gives you an objection, they care enough to give you an objection, right? So they've already got something invested. So they might not be saying no to you. They might just be saying, well, what else do you got, right? And so you need to be able to handle that. And whenever somebody gives you an objection, the most important thing is don't get defensive, right? You need to become that objection. You need to own it. You need to figure out where it's coming from, help them to understand it, tell them you understand how they feel. There's the 3 F's rule, if you're familiar with that. And you're gonna feel what they feel. You're gonna justify it. You're gonna let them know that they're not alone. And then you're gonna give them a different point of view to see that objection from a different perspective. So sometimes no is, is no, or not no, is how all our salespeople, I think, we look at it, but a lot of times it's really not that, it's just, them trying to get more and build more from you.
I have a question for both of you. I guess spun a little different or catered to kind of your careers and how you got started. But Joe, for you, what is your why? I know you said like you kind of always knew you had a future in sales because of your family and things like that. But if that was your why then, has that changed since then? What keeps you going now?
Yeah, great question. I've worked with a coach for 5 years, and the two things that I've worked on hard with her have been to find what my why is and find what my driving purpose is. And for me, my dad was in sales, and when I was growing up, I witnessed someone that loved what he did for a living. A lot of his clients became his friends. He had complete autonomy of how he lived his life personally and professionally, and he had the means to allow me and my brother and sister to have awesome lives and enjoy a lot of experiences because of sales. That was all really intriguing to me. So that was like the foundation of me getting into sales, was like witnessing that and being part of that. I wanted to be able to recreate that when I got into my professional career. I think the why for me is I have an innate desire and a natural ability to connect with people at a personal level and a professional level. And I have a strong desire to always want to try to get the people to a better place than they are today. It doesn't necessarily have to be insurance. It just happens to be the industry that I landed in. But that's my driver, is when I get up every day, I'm looking to build, nurture, maintain relationships. But my driving purpose and my why is to get these professionals that I'm interacting with to a better place than they are today. And I know if I can do that 100% of the time, I know that the financial part of that will come. And so it's never been financial first for me. It's always been, what's my why, and put myself in a position to be able to see my why out, and the financial part of it has come behind that.
Awesome. And for you, like coming from a creative, more artistic background and then going into real estate, like
Falling
what
into
was-
sales.
Yeah. And if you fell, what is now your why?
So the why question for me, put aside, like family, money and all that stuff. I take pride and joy in seeing people achieve their dreams, achieve their goals, making themselves better, right? And it's funny because in the, switching from helping people buy and sell homes to helping people help people buy and sell homes, it's still pretty consistent. With when I was selling, it was helping people achieve a dream, a goal, or whatnot, and to feel satisfied and fulfilled in their life, right? For the management side and coaching agents, it's helping people recognize abilities that they have that they didn't even know they had, and helping them build on that and on themselves and on their natural talents, and to push the envelope and to, take a look at the stuff that's not so easy for them and force them a little bit to, to get more comfortable with what's uncomfortable and to see where it'll take them. So a lot of words, but I really enjoy helping people like be the best they can be.
So thank you.
First of all, thanks for being here today. Just really appreciate learning about both of your experiences and steps of your how you are today. And a lot of what we talked about in this class is about the growth and opportunities for the future. So now kind of shifting gears into a little more of a future oriented mindset. I was just wondering, do you, whether it's with sales or just in general as a person, do you both have any goals for maybe the next 5 years?
I think for me, I'm fortunate that I lived the life I want to live even now as a full-time employee at a company. I mean, I experience the things I want to experience. I have great work-life balance. I have the autonomy to control my own destiny with my scheduling. Plus, I absolutely love what I do and I have an extreme amount of passion for it. I don't see anything changing in sort of my future because, in sales, it's great because you can put yourself in a position to do it when you want to do it and to do it on your time and to have the ability to have the financial success to allow you to also find some of your passions. Golf's become a passion for me. I love to travel. I'm a big foodie, right? I can experience all that stuff because of the career I have, but I can do that moving forward as well. So I don't see myself in any way, shape, or form slowing down from what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
So I guess I have a very specific goal right now. My family and I want a summer house on a lake near the ocean. So that's, we teach our kids about goals and I teach my agents about goals. And so that right now we have a vision board in our office, actually inspired by my friend over here from when he did our training. And so what am I going to do to, achieve that? Well, I need to keep working my butt off. So in order to keep working my butt off and get that house, I'm going to use that to encourage my agents. Say, this is my goal. I'm going to use that personal story. This is what I want. I have a picture of a summer house on a lake in my office on our vision board. So I'm using that to help everybody use their own personal goals to work together. And we chose a word for the year. I don't know if you guys are readers of like, I don't know if you know yet. I'm such a nerd for, the self-help books and like the energy bus and my one word and all that. So our one word for the office is commit. So on that board, all of us together have decided to commit to trying to achieve our goals individually. And then, so goals is a very big part of.
I should add, I do have one, I'm purchasing a racehorse, I forgot to leave that. It's a goal of mine, I haven't done it yet, but it's on my roadmap. I'm a big horse fan, I don't know if anyone's been to Saratoga. No. So if you haven't, get up there.
I'm supposed to go with you.
You're in, you're in.
Any other questions? Let's give a big hand for both. We got one more? One left.
This kind of ties in previous questions about like, what's your why and what are your goals? But what advice would you give to someone, say like all of us young professionals who are still trying to figure out what their passions are and what their why is and how they can incorporate that into a successful career?
Great. That's a really good question.
I think it's, for me, I kind of fell into insurance. My dad was in the insurance business, but for me, I kind of fell into insurance. I'd be perfect. This might sound crazy, but I really am not that intrigued by insurance. So I don't have a passion for insurance, even though I sell it. I have a passion for getting people to a better place like I shared. I rely on people that have a passion for technically like an insurance. So for me, insurance just happened to be the path that I took. If I didn't take that path, the advice I would give is, if you're thinking about sales, talk to a lot of different opportunities around selling, whether it's a product, whether it's pharmaceuticals, whether it's real estate, insurance, be curious around and have a lot of conversations and leverage the network. I mean, if I can help anyone in here make connections into my network, I'd be happy to do that, because at the end of the day, business owners are looking for salespeople. Every business owner is looking for a salesperson. So you have the opportunity to have a lot of conversations and find what's intriguing to you. At the end of the day, if you find what's intriguing to you and you have passion for it, and you do all the things on this board and you have a commitment and follow a process, you'll be successful in my mind.
My biggest advice probably would be just talk to people. Just don't ever be afraid. Don't be embarrassed. Doesn't matter who it is. Everybody puts on their pants the same way one leg at a time. Like, just talk to people. My husband and I are very, very different. So he's actually a police officer here. And he is very he knew that he wanted to be a police officer. Day one, he went and got his degree in criminal justice, got his master's in criminal justice. He is a punch in, punch out guy. Like, he took a path with a goal and it was very straight. I'm a right-brained artist. It's like, I want to be a mom. I need to make money. How am I going to do this? I like to talk to people. And I just kept talking to people and I kept trying different things. And I listened to my heart. Mom taught me that when I was like 6, right? Listen to your heart. So trust your gut, listen to your heart. Try things, like go out there. If someone gives you an opportunity to speak in front of a class of, college students, do it. Like, you never know what's going to happen unless you go into a situation. So be open-minded, be excited about life, be excited about things, get up every day, make your bed, like do all the things you got to do to get through the day successfully. And then, experience life and it will find you. Again, I'm a reader of books. The North Star is the whole thing, or the law of attraction. Do you guys know this stuff? The Secret, the book, The Secret? It happens. I swear to God, it happens. It's crazy, but have passion, live with joy in your heart, and just be you. It's hard sometimes as you're in that age, trying to figure out exactly who you are. But I know you all know the real inner core of who you really are. Hang on to that, feed that. There's the positive dog story. Do you know that story? No? Okay, so in one of the books that I read, there's this guy and he's really struggling and he goes to this wise old man. He says to this wise old man, like, sir, I got this battle going on inside me. He goes, I feel like there's one voice inside me that's saying, you're amazing, you can do wonderful things, like you can fly, you can do all this stuff. And then there's this other voice inside me that says, really, man, you're terrible, like you should just crawl under a rock, like there's nothing good. He goes, and sir, I need help, I don't know what to do with this. And the wise man goes, let me think. He goes, it's like you have two dogs inside you. You've got a vicious dog and a happy dog. The positive dog, the one that says you can do all these things. Just feed that one. Feed the positive dog. So if you've got all this stuff inside you, like things like, because we all do that, we all battle with our inner confidence, like, you know, oh, I can't do this, like, this sucks. And then you think, I can do this. So feed that one. So keep feeding your inner confidence and it will illuminate and people will see that and you'll connect with people like Zev and you'll talk to them and you'll connect and then that happens from there. So I went a little off the path on that, but
Yeah,
a little philosophical, but
Sure, I mean, speaking of connections, I got connected to Zeb with my brother. I came and spoke here in a class 3.5 years ago. And we have a full-time employee at my company from this class. Came in as an intern, firm loved him, and he's gone on and done some great things at my firm and contributed in a lot of different ways, in a lot of helpful ways. And if it wasn't because of me coming to this class, getting a chance to meet him, that would have never happened. So it's possible, and the more people you talk to and the more people you connect with, the chances, it's a numbers game.